We're glad to have you back now. Now, there comes a time in the nation's history where the old engines of prosperity run out of steam. For Nigeria, where that moment is now. Crude oil, once the country's lifeblood, but no longer guarantees stability. Revenues are dwindling, global prices are unpredictable, and the cost of dependence has become unbearable. And what lies ahead is uncertain, but one truth is clear. Nigeria must learn to earn beyond oil. Now, economists and analysts have long agreed that the silver bullet for Nigeria's next growth phase lies in the non-oil sector, from agriculture to solid minerals, from processed foods to digital exports. Now, these are the pillars of a diversified economy that can survive oil shocks and global recessions alike. Well, encouragingly, the numbers are beginning to tell a new story. In the first quarter of 2025, let's start, Nigeria earned $1.79 billion from non-oil exports, a remarkable 24.75% increase from the same period in 2024. But behind these figures stands a quieter force, the financial architecture that powers it all. Well, let's analyze these figures, examine the prospects of the non-oil space for the last quarter of the year 2025, and of course the coming year. Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo is my guest. He's a trade finance expert, lead consultant at 3T Impex Consulting. He is also known as the export doctor. Thank you so much. It's good to see you, Dr. Ayemibo. It's been a while. How are you today?
Very fine. Good afternoon.
Thank you. I think it's good we start with an overview of the performance of non-oil exports in the year 2025. Yes, we had those brilliant figures from the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, which we spoke about at a particular time. You know, looking at that report, looking at the new gold, which is the non-oil space, I don't know how it comes to you, how you are examining that, and what are the projections for that sector?
We're still waiting for Q3. What we discussed then, that was in September, was for Q2. So we're waiting for the Q3 report, but everything is looking up. And like I said at that particular session, that last quarter of the year and first quarter of a new year are the major time you increase export activity in Nigeria. And the reason is simple. Agri-commodity exports, agri-commodity, which is a major item of export, and solid mineral, which is another major item of export, are at their peak at that time. So, for example, agro-commodity season from August to the end of the year, you have a lot of harvest happening, and then there is rain is going, so drying is easily done, and then you have a lot of volume of export. And then also first quarter of the year, the same thing. And rain hinder mining activity. So when rain goes also, we have similar increase in volume of mining and consequently increase in volume of export. So if from Q1 we already have about $3.22 billion according to the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, we're projecting that we probably will be doing more than $6 billion this year, and that would be very good. I mean, even though it's small compared to our size, what we're supposed to be doing, but you know, when you have been at a very low level for so long, when you're now making some progress, you want to also celebrate it, and of course be happy with it, which is kudos to NEPC, by the way.
But I think that work, you know, we've talked about the reward of hard work is more work. We still expect more work from the council. You know that there's a lot of opportunities, particularly this time we're talking about AfCFTA, we're talking about Africa must trade with Africans, and, you know, all of this. I spoke to someone last Friday, was talking about driving Africa direct investments. Now, not even FDIs anymore. Now it's Africa direct investment, ADIs. So when we are talking about stuffs like this ones, are we still, you know, I always like to ask you this question anytime I have you on the show. What positives would you say Nigeria is getting at the moment from the AfCFTA? Are we harnessing this market?
The beauty is that AfCFTA, we have ratified, we have gazetted the ratification instrument. So now trading has started with the guided trade initiative. We've not seen a lot of trading happening in terms of the volume.
Okay.
What I think we need to do now that every impediment on the way has been taken out, I think it's time now for the government to raise the bar in the publicity, raise the bar. You know, when we are doing election, the presidential election in the country, everybody knows the major candidate. Why do we know them? The news, the publicity, it goes around the country. We need a kind of publicity in Nigeria among the business people, particularly among manufacturers, that demonstrate the value that AfCFTA have, I mean, what we stand to benefit as a country and as a business. And I think a lot of our banks can help in doing this. You know, a number of our banks now are in different parts of the country. You know, before, you know, okay, EcoBank doing a lot. But I mean, Standard Chartered, Stanbic, Access, a number of our banks in Nigeria are doing a lot in Africa. What I think they need to now do is, because they have branches across Africa, and then they also have customers in those places, they need to begin to create platforms. I know one or two of the banks are already working on this, creating platform where Nigerian businesses can meet with Ugandan businesses, Kenyan businesses, Egyptian businesses, South African businesses, and we can begin to look at area of collaboration where we can do business together, either importing into Nigeria or exporting to those countries. Because then, because they are even meeting on that platform, that also boosts credibility, because of both of them are customers of the bank. Those are the kind of initiative I'm expecting to begin to see now on the part of the government, increasing advocacy and making a lot of noise about it, but among the bank, being very strategic in building some kind of platform to bring businesses together, because we need to increase trade within Africa. EU is doing so much in global trade because a lot of trade in EU is happening within EU. A population of just about 500 million people, they are controlling about 1/3 of global trade. So that means out of about $24 trillion, according to WTO, $24 trillion of trade that happened last year, 1/3 is within the EU alone. And 70% of that 1/3 is intra-EU trade. But in Africa, the intra-African trade is not even up to 15, some people will even say 14, 15%. Some will say 17%, but at least it's less than 20%, even though our population is over 1.3 billion people. So that's the kind of initiative I'm seeing. So for now, we're not doing so much in terms of trade. My fear, Tolu, my fear is that AfCFTA does not go in the way of ETLS and in the way of AGOA.
That's always been my worry. The African Continental Free Trade Area doesn't go the same route, just like we had the African Growth. Yes, I can hear you. The African Growth and Opportunities Act. I don't want us to go that same route. Are you there, Dr. Bamidele?
Oh. No. Trump does not even have our time. He doesn't have our time, so forget about it.
So, but let's move.
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, let's take a step further. UK is granting Nigeria tariff relief on about 3,000 products. All of this is to boost exports. How does that also come to you and exporters in the market? Dr. Ayemibo, are you there? Can you hear me, Dr. Ayemibo?
You know, that is, you know, I love the way yes, I'm here. I can hear you loud and clear.
Just speak. Go ahead. Dr. Ayemibo, if you can hear me, just respond to the question.
All right. You know, when I hear some of this news, yes, I can hear you and I'm responding now. You know, when I hear some of this news, it appears like a sharing news to us, as if they want to help us. But quite frankly, they are also helping themselves. Their economy is not doing so well. They need to increase trading activity. They need to increase the rate at which people are able to spend. They need to reduce the cost of living. And one of the ways to do that is to increase supply. So my thinking based on this, in as much as it's a good news for Nigerian business and export, it's not just for us, it's also a mutually beneficial relationship for them themselves. Meaning, if we, with this now, we can do a lot of trade with them, a lot of shipment with them. The increase in shipment into the country is going to crash the cost of the product and make people to be able to spend more. And that will increase consumption, thereby helping their GDP. So it's a good news for us, but it's also a good news for the UK. So it's a mutually beneficial thing. It's not like they are opening it just like that for us to have access. You know the way they paint this thing, like it's just for our benefit, and they are not benefiting from it. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement, and I think it's a good one for us. Again, we need to increase the publicity about any of these initiatives so people can take advantage of it.
But do you think local investors are getting the best out of this market? We also had a report of local manufacturers losing out some money in the same sector.
I didn't get that question.
I said, are the local investors making enough money from this sector? Because we've also read reports where there's a loss of about 4.8 trillion in that boom that local investors lost out of it.
Local investor, you mean manufacturers?
Yeah, local exporters, local investors, and all of that.
No, I mean, it's going to be a bit challenging for exports in the latter part of the year. And the reason what I think is, you know, Naira is stabilizing, right? And it's coming down. You know, in as much as it's good for the country, strengthening the Naira, but some people are going to be exposed to transaction risk. You know, when you're doing international trade, sometimes you are exposed to economic risk, sometimes translation risk, sometimes transaction risk. Transaction risk in this case because some people already use a benchmark of about 1,500 for their shipment, and now the rate is now 1,400.